Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hold on one moment. I am so excited to welcome Colonel Greg Gadson with us. He is the co-founder of CulturePop, one of our apps we use here at BMC Software for our microlearning of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've been in this partnership now for about 3 months, and we've gotten some really great feedback from our employee population, and we are excited to have Colonel Gadson here to talk about his journey and how he got to a place of being a co-founder of a tech startup. And then we're also have Captain Jannelle Allong Diakabana here today. She is our senior manager and my project manager of corporate social responsibility and communications here at BMC Software. Veterans, diversity, equity, and inclusion, technology, all of these things we've really embedded in many of our programs here, from hiring to our employee resource groups. And I think the continuum of our relationship with CulturePop, and then backing that up into Breakline, and then additionally with the work that we do with our USO in tandem with our Veterans Employee Resource Group that's global, really helps to cultivate a culture of inclusion and leadership. And through this session today, I hope that you will be inspired, as many people are all over the world, by Colonel Gadson, as well as by Captain Allong Diakabana, because she is a hero as well. And we're actually going to do it a little bit different. Typically, we would have a really in-depth presentation, but Jannelle will be interviewing Colonel Gadson today. So I appreciate both of you being here. I'm super excited, and I know everyone else is too. I know Jannelle is very excited. So with that, I'm going to let Jannelle take it away.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Colonel Gadson, first of all, thank you so much for being here. You've been an inspiration to me ever since I was a young cadet at West Point all the way through now. So I'm truly honored and humbled to be moderating this conversation today. And then thank you again to Wendy and your team for the opportunity. But before we dive into the Q&A, sir, would love for you to tell us, please, about your journey, your team's journey, and then how you all came to develop and create this awesome CulturePop opportunity.
Well, thank you, Jannelle. First, it truly is an honor, and it's humbling to have, I say, one of our own, part of the long gray line, continue to see you lead and grow. And I appreciate this opportunity. Wendy, again, we're super excited that you have invited us in and see the opportunity here for us and for your organization to grow and be better. And so we can't tell you how proud we are to be part of your team. Jannelle, it's Drew Bartkiewicz and I have known each other for longer than you've been alive. I'm sure, we go back all the way to 1984 when we went to the United States Military Academy Preparatory School. And, as part of being in the service, I say we never get to pick our teammates. It's those men and women, those young men and women that raise their hand to serve and protect our way of life. And so, from that basis of just kind of understanding that it's always about something bigger than us, not about those we like or don't like or what we have familiarity or not. It's been our role to maximize the value and capability of our teams. And so with that kind of broader understanding, it's not easy. It's a path that they break us down. They make us understand that it's not about us as individuals, but it's about a group, and then they build us back up. And I have to say that it was certainly a blessing to be able to serve for 26 years and to be able to lead these men and women as they serve our nation. So in light of the challenges that that we had last year in our society, and just to be quite honest, I mean, and frank, a lot of these challenges that we see publicly, honestly have existed all my life. To a lesser or a greater degree, it's not it wasn't an epiphany in me that our society's had these challenges. And I think the pandemic really allowed them to kind of come to the surface. We were almost in timeout as a society, and we really got to look ourselves in the mirror and really comprehend our commitment to living up to our nation and the promise that our nation has. And so, with us kind of reflecting personally, I got to say, I'm proud that my classmate Drew, who's on the call, gave me a call. And as I was sitting on the sidelines, just going, what can I do? How can I be? We started talking about CulturePop. And so we recognize, and I fundamentally like to say, is that our government can't do this by ourselves. This is fundamentally about education. Is fundamentally about us changing our hearts and respecting one another and understanding that we all have value, and together we're stronger. And so our goal is to help you all, to help companies and organizations maximize the value of their teammates, because that's what leadership is about. And so and just to kind of add, look, I can go into more in this, Jannelle, but I go back to thinking about not picking my teammates, and ultimately the teammates that I didn't pick are the ones that saved my life when I was wounded in Baghdad. By all rights, I shouldn't be here, but it was a team that people out of position, an organization that was created to do one thing and asked to do another. Folks operating out of their traditional roles that responded and answered because I believe, maybe too proudly, that we had an environment, we had a culture that allowed people to be all they could be, and so I'm here today, able to share my life because of that.
That's awesome, sir. Thank you for that. Sort of to caveat on your experience and that point about being thrust into very volatile environments with people that we don't know, but we give them opportunities because we're forced to, we have to. Our lives and the success of the mission depend on it. I think it's important to note what's special about you, other veterans, some of your co-founders, teammates at CulturePop, is that you are all had an early working with and leading different people in unusual circumstances, people from across the world, all walks of life. Is there a way that we at BMC or other organizations can replicate that environment within our own teams around the world and even at home?
Right. Well, you probably will recognize that you're certainly not under the 24-hour stress that that we went through, getting in process. But that being said, to me, I think it's really about fundamentally getting to know our people. And I think sometimes that we superficially know someone. Sometimes we only interact in a work environment. That we in the military, we operate in a work environment, but we also operate in a social environment. We do things to see each other's families and understand a real more holistic person that we are. We're not just singular individuals that do one thing for our organization. We're people with aspirations and dreams. And I think as a leader, as a person, the more you understand, about the people that you're working with, the better you can connect. You find points of commonality versus points of difference. And that's, to me, one of the challenges that we have in our society is, as small as the world has become in the figurative sense, it's almost we've become more disjointed because we're in our own silos, and so we've got to fight to eliminate those silos so that we can understand, really how closely we are.
Absolutely. I mean, do you believe that it's like, whose responsibility is it to sort of create this synergy between different people? Is it self-accountability, like myself as an individual contributor? Is it our managers, teammates, colleagues overall? Who do you think is responsible to sort of create that environment where everyone comes to the table and what they bring is valued?
Well, leadership can come, it's about leaders. And it doesn't always have to be the person in charge. Sometimes we look at that person, but I'm sure you recognize that leadership can come from the bottom up. It's really an understanding and appreciation. Now, we hold our leaders accountable, and I think that's ultimately where we'd like to, kind of look to and take our direction from. But it doesn't always have to come from that perspective. There can be a strong subordinate leader. It can be someone that's more comfortable, and maybe it's the leader that helps the organization figure out who that person is that's going to kind of carry that banner, carry that charter to help us mold. So I say ultimately the responsibility, lies on the leader, but it doesn't have to be executed through the leader.
Okay, no, that's a great point. Thank you for that. I'm going to shift focus just a little bit to talk more about CulturePop, the organization as well as the application. And one of CulturePop's overall beliefs is that diversity can be conditioned. How do you educate people on diversity so that everyone can learn, even for those who are not excited about learning about diversity or expanding their diversity intelligence? Right.
So to me, CulturePop starts from the position of this. First, I really love and appreciate the anonymity of it. So, we want people to be honest. We want people to feel like we're not keeping score, and that they can truly delve into the application of program without worrying about any retribution. And that anonymity, that part of it being about you exploring your own thoughts and biases and understanding them can be done without any concerns. And so that we feel is a very strong point. Jannelle, you will appreciate this from a standpoint that I'm not going to lean too much on military terms, but to me, this program is about the sustainment. Oftentimes we get together and we, as large organizations, we check the block by having an event, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic History Month, Asian History Month, for example. And those are important. I'm not denigrating them or being pejorative about their significance. But what is it that we do on a sustained and daily basis to really learn and grow? And CulturePop, this program allows us to have that sustainment, to have that constant drumbeat of being able to learn in an application that is a micro learning environment that is in a platform that all of us can identify with. And so, look, I'm not trying to take large bites of the apple. I'm trying, we need to take small bites of the apple and process this on our own kind of on our own speed. And so, it's not going to change everybody overnight. It's not going to, but it will force you. What I would say is it will force you to look in your own mirror and take inventory of your own thoughts, your own processes. And if you're being honest with yourself, you certainly have an opportunity to learn and grow, but to challenge yourself. And so with that growth, I think we gain empathy, we gain understanding and perspective about our teammates, about what our own perspectives.
Absolutely. I think I almost look at, because I've been using the app for a while, and I almost look at it as, for example, if you're a developer or if you're in PR like myself, like we're constantly going to webinars or, completing our master's degree or going to get a certification to make ourselves better at our jobs. It shouldn't be so hard to make yourself better at being a better leader. And part of that is recognizing your own unconscious biases and like how to correct that. I will say, using the app, one of my favorite features is probably the pop knowledge. So like every day I get like a series of, just like little factoids about different cultures. For example, like I learned the other day that the term Eskimo is widely unaccepted by Native Alaskans. And I thought, that's interesting, because my daughter, 2 years old, just came home with like a homework assignment that has color this Eskimo, E for Eskimo. So I guess my question is to you is like, how do you see CulturePop also transcending beyond the workplace? It's not just for us here at BMC or any other big corporation. How else can it, spread?
Well, absolutely. It will spread by us really just kind of, your example of kind of understanding something that has been ingrained in our society, but is fundamentally culturally sensitive. Here where I live outside of Washington, D.C., the former team called the Washington Redskins they're trying to come up with a term that or a new logo, because Redskins is not acceptable. And so when you spread and you have that conversation with your daughter, guess what? Your daughter can have that conversation with her classmates. She can have that conversation with her teacher, and she can begin to challenge the sort of unintentional, uneducated. We can make an excuse for a time, but when we know better, we got to hold ourselves better. And so, to me, it's the subtleties that this powerful app and program can use to engage us. And we have sometimes in some pockets, in some ways, we've been complacent in our society. We've accepted things that have become norms when they're not acceptable, or they shouldn't be acceptable. And again, this light that has been relit over the past year, we've got to continue to not let that flame go out. And I believe that unlike we always look for our government, like, we want to change laws. We hear all the politics of we got to fix this and fix that. I think it goes beyond our lawmakers. This is about us fixing it. We are the ones that can hold those politicians accountable. Well, we got to know what's acceptable and what's not. And so this is about our own personal growth, so that we can truly make and truly grow as a society.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, I guess, what's your favorite feature on the app so far?
Well, I really appreciate the channels. You can go, from the veterans channel, the disability channel, just sort of to me, kind of the trivia. I was a history major at West Point, so I just like to learn about our culture, just facts. Of course, the pop quiz is the easiest way to challenge myself. And I gotta say, I'm not as I'm not as good as I feel like I should be. But that just shows, I mean, look, I'm not perfect. And, again, to think that I don't have any biases or understanding or appreciation is I think would be inaccurate, but there's a whole lot I don't know. And it's always neat to, I'm on a plane. I spend a lot of time traveling, and I can pop in and see if I can improve my score just to make sure that again, it's at my own pace and it's about my own growth.
Absolutely. I think sometimes. Oh,
Jannelle, can I jump in? I just wanted to say, I meant to say this earlier. You knew I was going to jump in. But I've been in HR technology for a long time, working for software providers. And I actually sought out an app that had a global content perspective that was micro learning, easy to use. And quite frankly, there's just not a lot out there. There's a lot of people and HR technology organizations that want to sell you and upsell you on products, but it's not coming from a place of intention. It's coming from a place of opportunity. And what I loved about the CulturePop app is that it was so easy. It's so easy to use, and it has a global lens. A lot of times there's like a US centric lens, and that's not how the world is. So I absolutely love that you get the ability to learn about all different things in all different organizations and countries and cultures, because discrimination happens everywhere. It just has a different book cover. It's the same book with a different cover everywhere in the world. And to be able to identify and understand like your biases and how translatable they might be in other cultures, I think is really important to start your journey. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you, Wendy. So I think another question that I had was, I think some people are another app on my phone or another D&I session or another. I think some people feel like when we talk about diversity and inclusion that we're almost sort of shoving it down people's throats, but everyone, they learn differently. How does the application cater to how people receive, absorb information differently?
Right. So I like to say I'm an audio visual learner, and so it's funny, not as a history major, I'm actually not a big reader. I really like to listen to videos and audio content, and so this app certainly provides us a way of getting information. So it is. I think we cover probably all the spectrums of ways that you can. And the other thing, to me, what it often does is it there might be something, there might be some fact that you just want to learn more about, and you can through the app find more about it, or you can, again, it can drive you to the web or some other source if it's piqued your curiosity. So I believe that we're covering the spectrum of ways that people can engage in the application.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this, like, for most people, they spend about 4.5 minutes per day on the app. Is there anywhere, any studies or anything that your team has found that suggests a certain amount of hours or time or repetitions, exposure to something can start to tilt people's behaviors and attitudes towards others?
Drew, I'm not sure I have the answer to that question.
We actually track a lot of the behaviors in the app in line with what develops a new habit, a new behavior, Jannelle. So on average, it takes someone 38 days to have the chance of a new habit sticking. So what CulturePop does is a little bit like Noom is a behavioral sciences app to rethink weight, right? It's not a weight loss app, it's a rethink weight app. It's kind of using programming and neuroscience to help you rethink it and reimagine it. So that's really what we're doing on CulturePop. And these short bursts, snackable moments of 3.5 to 4.5 minutes, repeated over time. It's allowing you to find time to learn things that usually you didn't have time to do. And we're all rather, full plated on our jobs, whether we're in accounting, marketing, PR, manufacturing, developing. So we try and find those loose windows in your day for you to learn things that really would help you grow as a person, if that's helpful.
No, absolutely. I mean, you go for a walk. We go everywhere with our phones now. You go with your dog, you just stepping outside. No, just pick up your phone and look at one, CulturePop knowledge, factoid, or your lunch break listening to a podcast. But that accessibility is definitely important. I was talking to a friend of mine and also another West Point grad, and at her company, the biggest issue that they found with their D&I training was that it catered only to a certain group of people that had like a specific 9-to-5 schedule, and it was not flexible enough for people who were working on the weekends or people who worked like a 24/7 kind of deal because they were like hustling, to sell property or whatever it is. So that's something that I never considered before, was like how easily accessible it is to educate people. We all don't have the time to sit down for 2 hours, every once a month, or however often different companies do it, or like how we see it done in the Army sometimes. So I think accessibility is truly important. Let me see. So overall for a team, do either of you have any particular experiences from both military and civilian life that you think have helped you shape this application itself? Like, how is everything curated?
Well, let me start out a little bit, Jannelle, with what's really cool about this app is that our co-founders, so 10 of their 12 co-founders are class of 89 graduates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then we have an 87 grad, and we have I forgot Nana's class, but Nana's she's a Naval Academy graduate, and so it's all academy. And if you were to put us in a rainbow, I mean, I don't want to say we've got all the bases covered, every single one, but we darn near do in terms of a diverse team. If you just said, you got to pull you got to get one of each. We do, and I think not just our growing up experiences and who we represent in terms of diversity. It's also diversity of experience. It's a diversity of leadership and from different sectors of our society. And so there's just tremendous diversity, not just what you see visually, but just the diversity of experience. And so that is why we feel very strongly about the content that we're providing. And then we're also always looking for more ways, for better ways, and for some blind spot that perhaps we've even missed to bring in. And so it's a work in progress, is what I would say, in terms of how this program is growing.
Awesome.
And maybe
Drew, did you have any?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add, Greg was stationed overseas, and then in the Gulf War, I was stationed overseas, and then in the Gulf War. And when you're a +1 in another country, I was stationed in northern Italy with the 82nd Airborne, and I had to kind of, really adapt to everything about the Italian lifestyle if I wanted to appreciate what it was all about. And to do that, you have to kind of unlock these inclusion instincts and actually look at these differences with another culture as something that is quite fascinating, enjoyable, fun, and what we did in CulturePop was to unlock all richness of media to make a subject never feel like training. So, you know, as Greg said, there's pop talks and popcasts, and there's audio, there's video, there's readable, there's pop surveys, which taxes your mind, maybe is a quick stop and checkpoint for you to give a self-reflection. And it's meant to, as Greg mentioned, sustain your curiosity. And, you know, I've lived in 7 different countries, and I will say curiosity is contagious. And the more curious you are about people in a new environment, the more curious they want to be about you. And so I think BMC is like just really a great example of how proactive you're being in terms of wanting to leverage these differences, because they're really fascinating. And you can't mandate them, as Greg said. You can't govern hearts and minds, but if people feel more instinctual about their own curiosity, and CulturePop, because it's anonymous, it lets you fail on your own in terms of your knowledge. You know, there's no punishment, there's no profiling, there's no sense of embarrassment. And as Greg said, you know, his pop score might be right around mine, around 74%. And I should know more of the answers than I do. So my life experience of being married to a Spanish woman from Madrid, Spain, and now 25 years, I'm still learning things about Spanish culture and how much the Arab culture intermixed with Spanish, and 8% of the Spanish language is Arabic words by origin. It's really fascinating. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with CulturePop, is make this really interesting so that your culture in BMC benefits.
Absolutely. I think another fascinating point, and that you brought up earlier too, Colonel Gadson and Drew, was it's anonymous, right? I was actually listening to Wendy she had done another session earlier with one of our awesome leaders here at BMC, Allison Kramer, and they talked about not shaming people, because sometimes people say things, or, you know, a microaggression comes out, and like, how do we correct those people without shaming them? I think that that's so important. And I think that's essential to this app, is that we all don't know everything, and we can make mistakes and learn from them. But I think people are less inclined to want to change if you're going to demean or shame them, or put them down for like, oh, you didn't know that about, you know, Caribbean people. We don't have to shame people. It's just really, we can correct them in a respectful way.
Absolutely, Jannelle. Well said. And again, this is that kind, again, that's the culture, right? It's just a culture of learning. It's a culture of understanding, not a culture of retribution, not a culture of gotcha, you know. And so, yeah. and those, you know, that simple nuance of an attitude, you know, I say I do hold accountable. And the leaders are responsible for that culture. That's part of it, a culture of respect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I kind of just talking about DE&I a little bit. Is there more to diversity, equity, inclusion than hiring a diverse cast, so to speak, right? So there's more to it than making your boardroom diverse or your ELT diverse. I think some people have in their minds, well, if we hire everyone from all walks of life, the color of the rainbow, then in a year we're going to make more money, or in a year the retention rate of people of color will be higher. Or how can we explain to people that DE&I is not, it's not linear? Like, we're going to hire people from all walks of life, and it's not like, it doesn't click at first, right?
Right.
How do we express that to people, and what can we tell them to sort of, you know, set expectations for that?
Great question, Jannelle. So in my opinion, in my experience, it is, you know, because this is about the culture, what I am kind of instilling in the organization and the subordinate leaders is that we have got to create an environment where people can be the best they can be. You know, so that the talent can truly rise to the top. And you're right that, you know, I've said this to Drew. I said, diversity does not equal inclusion. It's the first step to being an inclusive organization. Step two, but inclusion does equal team. And so if you've got a team and you're maximizing, so your goal is, our goal here is to maximize the contributions of our talent. You know, we spend a lot of time going through resumes and hiring the right person. Let's make sure that we get the most out of that right person that we hired, and because we've invested so much in it. And when someone, you retain people because they're in an environment where they can thrive, where they feel that they're valued, where they feel like they can be and achieve their goals. And if people are leaving you, then, you know, kind of, again, turn the mirror back. Why is this person leaving? Is you know, sometimes it's because there's a better opportunity somewhere, but sometimes it's because they feel like they can't be all they can be. And so that is how we retain our folks. That's how we get the most out of our team. And that really is what gets at the bottom line of it. If it is that let's have a productive, excited team that is trying to be the best that they can be. That impacts the bottom line for everybody.
Absolutely. Another fact that I saw I think it was a couple of days ago was, and I didn't realize this, I'm a millennial, but I actually didn't realize this, probably because I haven't experienced it lately, but often people refer to millennials or Gen Zers as kids. I did not know this, and that, you know, we might come up with something and we're often told, oh, we've tried that before. And that, just that language in itself is you're not being inclusive. So just like a heads up to leaders out there who do that. And so when they wonder why young talent leaves, it's like, well, we came up with something and we were told that it was done before. It may not have been executed the same way. So just something to keep, you know, for leaders in their toolkit. But I thought that was fascinating. I think we have a couple of questions coming in from the audience.
We have one from Tag Tao. Have you, Colonel Gadson, been able to use your connection to the film TV industry? Battleship looks like he's a big fan, to also spread the DEI message and CulturePop app in those areas in entertainment.
You know, I wouldn't say that has been my primary kind of connection. At least it hasn't happened now, at least in a direct sense. But I will say that maybe in a more subtle way, I'm involved in veterans and disability organizations and activities, and so I think sometimes by virtue of my participation or communication or whatever, I continue to at least from my perspective be able to share the fact that that I can still contribute to society. I can still be productive, and I'm trying to live my best life.
Awesome. And Jason Andrew, our Chief Revenue Officer, is going to pop on and join us because he would love to ask you a question. He too is also a huge fan, Colonel Gadson.
I'm trying not to smile too much, mate. And joke and laugh. I'm a long time, 24-year BMCer, but a proud New Zealander who lives here in the US. Very, very honored to live in the USA, and we're green card holders, and we get to see lots of different things happen, like you said, and it's just keeping your eyes wide open and listening and learning all the time. And I feel like I'm constantly teaching people about Polynesian culture and what happens down in New Zealand, but I'm very proud to live here in the USA. I guess my question maybe is a little bit more, to either yourself, Colonel, or to Drew. I'm thinking about, Wendy does a fantastic job. She disseminates information, she sends it out, but how do I, as a leader in the company, help people get more exposed? And, actually, I think, because the first time I downloaded it and started, like, I think, Jannelle, you were saying, I'm very competitive, so I constantly am trying. I even now started filtering the questions to make sure I kind of open the ones I think I know I can answer, rather than failing before I open them. I'm because, like, I saw someone put a 90% score, and I'm like, I'm going to beat that. So I am trying to be a little bit better. But how do I get the team to learn and accept a little bit? This is actually, not only am I learning, but I really enjoy it. It's actually fun. And then I guess a follow-on question again to either of you is, where's this going to go? What's the art of the possible? What do you think? How do you think you can, like, where do you think you're going to take this, right? How big could it be? It could be massive. When I see what I've learned, and I've shown my 19-year-old son how to play around, and I think it's fun. But I mean, how do I get more, my team more involved, and where are you going to take it next?
Well, let me tackle the first question, Jason, and thank you. I love Polynesia. I know that New Zealand is, for instance, the only Polynesian country that has all 4 seasons. All right, yes, and it's on my bucket list to get down there. So, Jason, I think that the opportunity is, I think you're right at it. Is maybe in a on a Friday night, you're doing Aloha Friday, and get the team together and just talk about scores. You don't have to, or come up with a door prize, come up with a gag gift, that someone's got to carry around until the next meeting for who has the lowest score. And so
I could print out some faces of Eric Olmo, Wendy, and we could wear that as the gag gift maybe in the meeting.
So when I was in we had an old military tradition of when we go to do our field exercises, well, someone would invariably have a Murphy moment or whatever. And so when we got together socially, we would we tried to put on these little skits to obviously exaggerate what happened, but and so they got to take home like when I was in the Roadrunner Battalion, they got to take home the Wile E. Coyote, and they had to hold it and carry it around all the social functions until they could give it to somebody else. And so a little bit of ribbing, a little bit of fun, but what if for instance, from my perspective, you don't want the low score, then you're gonna challenge yourself invariably to kind of get through some of the content. And so
I think that you could be onto something, Colonel, because what I was thinking maybe is for us leaders on the line is, I'm willing, like next staff meeting I have, I'm going to show my team what my pop score is. All right. And I'm going to show them where I'm at on pledges or different elements or aspects of using the app. And then I'm going to say, next week, we're going to get on and we're going to see who beats who. Make it, we're a highly competitive group, and the group I look
absolutely.
After.
Right.
Yeah, and Bree and I have talked about that too.
They don't see any of the expanded data that's associated with the score. They just see your score. So
yeah, and there's a wonderful badging system too. I think, like Drew, as I've kind of, I guess, worked with you on like product development and roadmap and journey, because I have a lot of unsolicited opinions on a lot of things about like badging and how you can use badging and screen sharing if you have a WhatsApp channel to, Jason, to your point as a leader, like share like where you are in your badge journey and be like, this is where I am in my badge and here's my pop score. Because also too, you don't want to force people, into Jannelle's point earlier and in previous talks we've had around, like, you don't want to shame people, but for those that want to participate, you want them to opt in and be able to have that, have that opportunity too. But I know Drew also has a lot of really great ideas around how you can gamify this app as well too.
Yeah, Jason, that's a great question. The spectrum of any behavior which helps an employee, the leader's spectrum ranges from, You either motivate that behavior or the other end of the spectrum is you mandate it. And there's a lot of stuff in between the motivating and mandating. And I think one is competition, inter squad, fun, make it fun. The badging system, as Wendy mentioned, it's a combination of both effort as well as competency. So, to go from a beginner badge to a gainer badge is a function of 1,000 minutes in the app and at least a score of 70%. And, maybe there's a Starbucks gift card for anyone who gets to the gainer badge, or maybe there's bragging rights in one department over the other who has a higher average pop score. We try to build a very human app for a very human subject, because diversity is about humanity. There's 32 attributes of the diversity wheel, which is well beyond just race and well beyond just gender. Those are two of the visible aspects of diversity, but then there's these 30 that really are not as visible. And these are the dimensions that we're trying to gamify, but also entertain enough. And I will say that my view is BMC has done it the right way. They've invited people in as an employee benefit. In a way, it's like paying for Spotify for a year and giving it out. Like, who wouldn't take that deal? So here, CulturePop is being issued as an employee benefit. It is an opt-in, but it's very easy in a leadership level to invite people in to the game. And the game of learning is the game we all should be in. It's 2021. And whether we're in an accounting company, a software company like you, or a biopharmaceutical, these are all learning industries. So we're just doing micro learning on a subject that we hope makes people see life in a little bit broader lens than they may see it today, without any judgment or attribution.
Awesome answer. We have a mantra, Drew, just in our team of, learn, earn, and have fun. And I think this actually, if you, think more, just outside the box, this actually hits all three of those for us as a sales leadership team. So thank you so much to both of you. And I'm an ambassador here at BMC. I'll be pushing my team on, and I'm going to beat their score.
Thank you, Jason.
Maybe Jason's team can compete with Eric's team.
We'd win.
No, that's not going to happen. I think no.
Hey, Jason, just a quick question. Where in the US do you reside? I'm just curious.
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we lived in Houston for a while, and then we went to London for a while, and when we moved back, we came into Austin. So, and we're from north of Auckland, a place called Wongaparao. That's where and my wife's family's from the Waikato. So we're both Kiwis.
Wow.
Is that North Island or South Island?
We're both from the North Island, mate. We're both from it's the little island in mass, but the big island for people. So,
Okay.
And my family's all still down there. My grandkids, my grandson and daughters are down there. So yeah, we're Kiwis.
So it's winter down there, right?
Yeah, it's freezing. Well, relatively freezing, like it's 40, but it's rains a lot and it's cold, but it's beautiful still. Yeah, it's fun down there. This is a good time. Actually, the crossover seasons, like everywhere, it's a good time to go.
Excellent.
Eric.
Yeah, if I can jump in part to respond to Jason. But first of all, Greg and Drew, I want to thank you for joining us. I absolutely love this app. You guys have covered on a lot of the reasons why I love it. I think this idea of gamifying micro-learning, making it just in time is just absolutely brilliant. And this topic is just one that you can just consume at any point. And so hats off for what you all have.
Thank you.
Market. It really is. I can't say that enough. And when Jason was talking about, it's like, how do we internally kind of stimulate? He touched on some of these things. I think part of the very nature of inclusivity and diversity is understanding how we all approach learning in a different way. And that's what I love about this app. I can find myself at any moment in the day, I'm taking a break, I reach for the phone, I can get on the app, and I just love kind of the content. And I think that's one part of it that I think is what we should kind of broadcast, because I do think that the very nature of the tool is great. I like the whole gamification stuff. To Jason's point, Jason's team will have a competition on anything. So one of the things that we've been trying to do internally is to kind of go with that flow, and from a really good place in terms of, hey, which organization can kind of get to a certain level before, and it just kind of just naturally, very organically kind of takes over where people want to go do that. And I think this is a topic to be able to do that. One question I think for you, Drew, but also for you, Greg, is I love this notion about how, you know, inclusivity gets accelerated through neuroplasty. We're a technical organization, so I mean, any information that really we can help, you know, share with our folks about the brain science that sits behind some of this learning in terms of how you can learn, you know, these kind of topics given this medium, I think would be really interesting. It just on a personal note, I'm intrigued about learning through kind of the science of the brain. So there's some of that stuff. That's something that we can also share, because that certainly also speaks to us, I think, more communally as let's call it as a species in terms of how our brains best work in terms of learning. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, Eric, to answer your question, I read the book, The Shallows, about, it's already 7 years old, and The Shallows by the author Nicholas Carr, it's C-A-R-R, I'll send a link along, really opened my eyes to what happens to the human mind as you dramatically increase the number of inputs to the mind. So when the velocity of information is up, the variety of information is up, and the volatility of information is up, how does the mind function in that environment? And The Shallows predicted kind of where we are in 2021. He wrote the book in 2012 or 2013. Hard to believe it's that far back. And that's when I became a student of how technology is going to kind of rewire our brains. And it is a way that I've grown. I was a low frequency, high touch learner. So I was an aerospace engineer at West Point, low frequency, low touch, seeing a professor 2 to 3 times a week, and then, having to do my own work on my own. And the modality of really millennials and below on a generational spectrum, because anyone who starts in the teenage years with a phone in their hand, a smartphone, they're already in a high frequency, low touch operating system. Their mind has to operate in a shallow band. And the book, I thought, was a great preview of where micro learning has kind of grown, because neuroplasticity is just moving information you used to know, but moving it to the frontal cortex as something you think about more often. And whether that's your knowledge of sports, your knowledge of software in your business, the knowledge of DEI, if you move reinforcing and reminding and reflective moments to the frontal of the cortex, then the behavior kind of kicks in more naturally. That's where instincts and behaviors and habits form. So that's what we've tried to do in CulturePop is no one needs their PhD in diversity and inclusion other than the chief diversity officer, but everyone can get insights and questions and surveys that really sustain your curiosity on this subject. And, I'll share with Wendy some recommended reading in terms of what's the science behind the app. There's 7 modules that are all behavioral science modules. And you wouldn't know they're happening on CulturePop unless you saw the links that we'll send along to have a further read. But thanks for the question. I don't know if that answered it enough.
No, you did.
Thank you so much.
You did, and I think again, it's one of the really interesting things about why I think it's this. The app is just so compelling.
Yeah, Eric, I would add, this is taking advantage of and understanding and appreciating, I guess our environment. Sometimes I'll get this question frequently when I'm engaging, especially military organizations, is how do we deal with these Gen Xers or these millennials? And I go, first of all, I don't think of people that way. They're people. And so the strength of this app is really what it does subtly is it's bringing us back to people. We are people. We're not him and her and this and that and they, and I mean, all the kind of, we keep trying to silo ourselves. And so, my kind of generic kind of leadership lesson is stop categorizing people. They're people, and just, I don't need a different strategy based upon someone's gender or someone's age or whatever it is I perceive about them. And this breaks those down. This app breaks those down so I can start looking at people as people.
And I think to your point too, like, you just need to be kind, like leverage emotional intelligence. Like, I know the first time you and I met Colonel Gadson, immediately I said something, prescriptive that was, siloing myself into a category that we both are, I would say, we were very, very engaged in that conversation. But I loved how you were like, we're just people. And I think a lot of times we get hung up on like, I don't know what I'm going to say. What do I do if I run into someone that is not like me? And my advice always is just be kind, just be nice.
Right.
Say hello, say thank you. You don't need to say anything outside of the ordinary or add any editorial comments. Just, act
be
accordingly.
human.
Be human, right? We all have the same wants. We all have the same desires. We all want to live the best lives and be happy as much as possible. And I think that's like the human condition, if anything, 2020 and coronavirus, COVID, pandemic, recessions, all the things that have happened, the apocalypse, have made us all realize that we are all human and we all worry about the same things at the end of the day and want the same things. So I love the app. I'm so happy that you were able to join us today. And Drew, I enjoy all of our long talks about products. Again, all the great talks we have.
I have your list right here.
It has been a wonderful partnership, and I just appreciate you all so much. And for everyone on the call, we have content, as we mentioned, for anyone. This might not be a right fit for you, but we also have not just micro learning, but more overall macro learning, YouTube channels, other events that you can attend. Also, shout out to our Veterans Employee Resource Group and Jeremy Pichette, who is our captain of that group, for helping us co-sponsor this event today. But there's so much for anyone at this organization to do to engage and just like build their spheres of awareness more. Build your spheres of awareness 4 minutes at a time daily, or like 1 hour a week, 1 hour every 2 weeks. So I appreciate everyone joining the call today. Captain Jannelle Allong, Diakabana, I adore you and I appreciate everything that you do and collaborate with you. I get to collaborate with you every day. Colonel Gadson, please part us with some words of wisdom.
Well, thank you, Wendy. So, look, again, Drew and I represent a team, and we're just certainly proud of the overt, intentional step that BMC is trying to be better, trying to make themselves better, trying to make the world better, and we appreciate the opportunity to be teammates. I'll echo a little bit of what Wendy said, but my dad, my parents drilled into me early on as a child that this is about dignity and respect. It didn't whether my dad was a pharmacist, it didn't matter whether he was talking to the hospital administrator or a janitor. I watched my father treat every human with kindness and dignity and respect. And that has been my guiding, that's been my baseline. And it's allowed me to deal with Sunni and Shia, Black and white, Bosniak and Serb. It's served me well, because when you bring it down to a human level, when you understand that this isn't about who's right or wrong, who's got the best answer, but it's about kindness, it's about working through a solution, it's about being better. That has been my rock, that has been my beacon, and it's not complicated. It really isn't. We just gotta give each other a chance. And so My final word is this. You know, in our preamble, we say in order to form a more perfect union. And so let's just take that to heart. This isn't, we can always be better. And if that's where we're striving to be in so many ways in our life, we can just always be better, then we'll make the world better. We'll get over this and we'll get through this. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you so much. Colonel Gadson, Drew, we're going to stay on if anybody wants to stay on for an after hours conversation for a couple more minutes. But thank you everyone that attended today. We will have a recording. I'll send out a follow-up email. I also have a social card that I'll be sharing with everyone. I encourage you to use that social card to share on your social media networks to get the good word out about the autonomous digital enterprise, including everyone, CulturePop, and all of the things we're doing to make sure that we are supporting the UN Sustainable Development Goals to create more equity in this world. Thank you again so much. Jannelle, I know that you had a couple more questions for Colonel Gadson, and maybe we can have 5 or 10 more minutes of his time. We just won't let him off. I'll just make sure he stays on forever. And then Jason and Eric, maybe we want to have a couple more. Jason, did you have something? Jason did. No?
I was saying goodbye, but if you want me to stay, I'll stay. It's fine.
No, well, I mean, if you want to talk to Colonel Gadson, he's here. I don't have his phone number. I'd give it to you.
No, I'm too nervous.
What are you nervous for, Jason?
You know, I know, probably trying to arm wrestle me across the line or something, mate.
He did. He IM'd me and was like, I am so